Herodotus, the Greek historian, reported that the ancient Persians tended to deliberate on important matters when they were drunk and then reconsider their decisions the following day when they were sober. If it happened that their first deliberation took place when they were sober, then they would always reconsider the matter under influence of wine. If the decision was approved both drunk and sober, the decision held. If not, the Persians set it aside. My name is Willows.
And my name is Tyler.
And we're both young business people who still adhere to these ancient traditions. Join us as we debate and discuss business topics, moves we're making, politics, and more, both sober and then drunk, to see if we come to the same conclusion. This is Alcohol Beyond This Point. Boom, episode 6.
Episode 6. We are sure of that this time.
We're not sure of that, but we put a question mark on the board. But
yeah, so last time we recorded was New Year's Eve, and today is January 8th, and we've still not released the New Year's Eve episode because it's been sitting on a flash drive. So yeah, still not hitting that output.
We'll get there. We said once a week. No, I said twice a month, yeah, I think.
We're going to start recording twice a week and banking some content so we can release weekly.
I think
right?
That's the idea. I don't think Tyler is going to do it.
I'm in.
Okay, perfect. So we're doing a cider episode today. Ironically, the best cider on the market in Manitoba is mine, and we don't have a bottle because I forgot to bring one.
We're going to Photoshop it into the picture.
Well, I wasn't going to buy one at the liquor. I wasn't going to buy one at the store when I have one.
They didn't have a cider.
Yeah, they had mine.
I thought it was only mead and...
No, it wasn't in the fridge. They had one. Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't going to buy one, but...
At front fridge position, which is great. Not even paying for that.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got 5 ciders here today. We got 2 from our friends at Dead Horse Cider. They're Manitoba's other cidery. They're down in Winkler, Manitoba, just south of where we live here.
Yep, we just did a tour there the other day.
Yeah, we were down there. The owners there are good friends of the show, I would say.
Yep.
And so shout out Marcus Cider, shout out Dead Horse Cider. So we got their original cider and their cherry cider.
And shout out Darcy, just because, for getting us drunk.
Yeah, okay. We have our no boats on Sunday. This is Canadian, right? Project Canada, yeah. Grimsby, Ontario. It's good cider. It's hopped. They use hops or whatever in the fermentation.
I don't know if I've had it.
It's good. We got a Magners. That's a Irish or Scottish, Irish, I think. Yeah, product of Ireland. And then we got a Savannah. That is a South Africa.
Awesome.
On the dry side. So, yeah, I'm getting sick. You might be able to hear that in my nose.
So we're getting lots of vitamin C.
Yeah, so I wanted some vitamin C to do it. So
no problem.
We do not have a problem. What do you want to start with?
No boats.
Perfect. And the reason you heard my keys there is because I have a bottle opener on my keys.
Cheers. That's much better.
That was a good ASMR.
Same with that.
Okay.
We'll get some real mics this year, I promise.
I promise. So here we are, 2020.
Yep.
Has anything changed?
Feel like a new man.
I feel like a new man. I haven't had a mental breakdown in this year yet, so.
Whole decade.
Yeah, whole decade I haven't had a mental breakdown. So we are doing okay.
Actually, New Year's was pretty good. Turned out well.
Yep. And we spent it together.
Nobody got hurt. We planned a bunch of activities, bonfire, beer pong. None of it happened.
No. Yeah, my roommate was running around right before the party, getting a beer pong table and stuff, and we getting firewood for the fire, and then we just never had a fire. We never played beer pong, but
still had fun.
It was good. It was a small group of people, good friends.
That's the way we usually do it.
Yeah, typically. So that was good. We planned a trip that me and you both forgot about until my business partner was like, "So we're going today, right?" And we're like, "What?
Going where?" And he calls me and he's like, "Oh, remember we planned that trip to Morden?" And I'm like, "Oh, right,
so
yes. What are we doing?"
Drove out to your hometown, and
yeah.
Neither of us remembered, but such is life, I would say.
Yeah. So we explored some deals or some property, some businesses we're looking at, trying to put a deal together. Yeah, perhaps buy a business or a plot of land and/or.
Yeah, the land that my vineyard sits on in the south of the province. It looks like I could probably buy the entire section.
Yeah.
Quarter section.
Yeah, vineyard you've been using.
Yeah. The vineyard that we get our grapes from in southern Manitoba. I don't actually own the land, but the land looks like they'll sell it to us if we want it. So
Death, divorce, and downsizing, baby. Perfect opportunity, right?
yeah,
That's what real estate moves on.
Yeah. So they're getting divorced. We shouldn't get into it, but it looks like we can pick up the entire. I guess it was 147 acres or something.
No, 40. It's a 40-acre section that's up for sale.
I thought it was more than
that. They own another section next to it.
Oh, right. Okay. But so yeah, we get the 40 acres, we get the vineyard, we get whatever else. There's a house on the property.
House, couple sheds, processing building we could use for processing, storage. Quite a bit of space, actually.
Yeah.
Well, it's 40 acres.
Yeah.
And it's some of the, I don't know, whoever's listening, the area that it's in, southern Manitoba, this particular pocket is, there's a lot of good land in Canada for farming, obviously, especially in the prairies, but this is top 1% of even the prairies.
Yeah, it's in some sort of weird valley, which is, they tell me, is an area of low pressure. It's actually the warmest part of the province, and there's more growing days there than anywhere else.
Yeah. So it's one of the only places in central Canada where you could probably successfully grow grapes.
Yeah.
Of this grade. There's a few spots.
On the prairies, yeah. So it's, lucky we have it, and buying it, making sure we have it forever is, it's on the list of things to do. So obviously that's a big, large financial commitment, but
huge. But trying to get creative with it.
Yeah, we're trying to,
Do you want to get into particulars? Do we want to talk numbers, business, strategies?
Probably not yet, right?
Well, no, but how do two broke early 20-somethings purchase
$520,000 of land?
Right.
So yeah, the asking price is over $500,000.
13,000 an acre average.
Yeah.
Which is high.
Yeah. I guess we get. There's a lot of great agricultural programs. If you're in the business at all, there's federal and provincial programs. There's probably equivalent in every province, and I'm sure a lot of states as well in the United States of America. There's a lot of support for agriculture in the world, just because obviously we die if we don't have agriculture.
Yeah, if you bankrupt as a farmer, they don't take your land, they don't take your equipment, they don't take your trucks, they don't take your house. You just lose your credit and your money.
Yeah, so there's a lot of low interest loans, grants, different things like that.
You get 3%, 45-year amortization if it's in the family.
Yeah, insane amount of insane great rates. So we're gonna try and tap into some of those. There's a woman from the agricultural department of the provincial government here that's been very interested in our operation this entire time, and wants to. She's been like, well, whenever you're growing stuff, let me know. I can get you the money. I go, come on, let's grow some stuff. Calls me every 3 months to be like, hey, you growing anything yet?
Yeah, and there may be grants as well.
Yes, any
free money awards.
Yeah, in this province we grow 99% grains and canola and stuff like that. Corn if we're getting excited.
And at every annual meeting, you bet your ass somebody's like, dear God, can we do something that's newsworthy?
Yeah, well, basically the province has said multiple times that how do we get people to grow stuff here that isn't canola?
Right, because that's just what makes the most money.
Yeah, per acre or whatever. Well, it's less work, I think.
Yeah,
more
profit.
Yeah, anyway, and it's suited for this climate, and there's no risk. But anyway, so they call it value added agriculture, because I grow wine grapes, right? That's employing people in the vineyard, and then we turn it into wine, so that's employing people in the winery, and then we sell that wine, that's employing people, in the sales force, right? So there's several layers of value that I'm bringing with something like that.
Plus tourism.
If we want to, that's we're going to make it an interesting.
The bid will be very compelling. We'll do our very best. We have friends in the industry, thankfully, who know the ins and outs of these grants. So that's kind of the one stage, the financing side. We may introduce a private money element to it if required, either somebody that would put up cash or would sign for debt. And that would just be kind of like a passive partner that just gets a cut literally for signing a paper. So that's definitely something that's an element, but you kind of have to fill in all the other pieces and put a nice bow on it, and the signature is the cherry on top.
Yeah. It's 10 times the amount of debt that I've ever taken in my life.
But probably the only fully secured debt you've ever taken.
Fair, yeah. Like I started this business for under $50,000 of debt, the winery that I own right now, and
arguably that's far higher risk.
Arguably, yes. Yeah. Not so much anymore when I have a ton of inventory that's been aging over a year and a bunch of equipment now, but when I started, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that's a general strategy. So hopefully going to make that happen.
Yeah, that's the plan.
And the other business purchase that I mentioned is way too early to talk about, but it's probably going to be a similar kind of thing, joint ventures and such. So you just got to get creative.
Yeah. Well, I think
you look for value adds.
Yeah, well, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's always a way to get a deal done.
Yeah, if it's a good deal.
Well,
no, that's not true.
You can get bad deals done way easier.
Absolutely.
But I feel like there's never been a deal that, if you get creative enough, you can make it happen. Like, I feel like that's everything. There's never
you just have to bring something to the table.
Yeah.
And AKA your creativity to put the shit together.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you ask for a favor from a favor from a favor from somebody.
Yeah, it's
who can give you what they want.
Chuck in billions.
Yeah, Billions. If you've seen that episode where he
makes value out of nothing.
The parking. Parking pass or whatever.
At the end of the episode, he's like, "I could use a parking pass." He's like, "Ah."
Sixth time he's used it. And yeah, I think even like that. I think you can sit on. I'm sitting on 100 favors right now. That's what businesses is right. It's just trading favors.
99 of them are me.
That's fair. Yeah, okay, but
yes, I see your point.
But I mean, I have in my head all these people that can do all these things, and when I'm at a deal that's like, hey, well, I need this to be done, I'm already like, okay, I have a guy for that. So then,
absolutely. Yeah, that one guy that always knows a guy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's to be successful in business. I think that's what you have to do.
Yeah, you got to be that guy.
Yeah.
So, with all that being said, we're slowly switching things up as we go here, evolving as a podcast. And we talked about it a bit before we started, but, getting a bit more into the banter because, I mean, honestly, we usually have pretty interesting things going on, especially...
We do?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we've enough to, yell at each other about for at least a little while.
Yeah.
So that's going to be kind of more core to the podcast going forwards, as well as the fact that we're, like we discussed last time, not sticking strictly to debates because, I mean, if you came to this podcast for key information, fresh news, some exclusive business advice, go the fuck elsewhere. So the point is, we want to get into more being a little bit more genuine with what we actually talk about. The last couple of days has been very absorbed in current events because you know what? It's really hella dramatic right now. So we're going to talk about current events, kind of how we're processing some of that stuff. And yeah, I mean, the big glaring one right now, I picked up a Winnipeg Free Press article or a Winnipeg Free Press copy, which is obviously the big newspaper here. And I paid for it. I've never done it before. Never bought a paper. But the headline, I'm like, you know what? I might need to throw this in a box someday, and I can say to my kids, I'm like, hey, kids, the day this happened, I was, working as a property manager, and then in 3 months we were at war. I'm like, oh. So I figured I should keep it. Or maybe it's nothing, and I'll keep it anyways. But the title was... Iran launches missiles into U.S. bases or something like that, something to that effect. So my 8 a.m. brain was like 6 a.m. brain. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. If you're listening to this from Futureland,
that's old news.
That's old news. But yeah, President Donald Trump drone striked an Iranian general or whatever, and basically caused World War III, essentially.
Yeah.
Well, we don't know.
Well,
We're in the midst of it right now, so.
For those who don't know, why are people saying that? It's just a general.
Because this is exactly what happened for World War One, when some Serbian killed some guy in Bosnia, and then I think he was Serb. Anyway, whatever. Like Archduke Franz Ferdinand got murked, and then that like put like Serbia and Bosnia at war or whatever, and then everyone was allies with each other. So Russia's like, if you declare war on our ally, then we'll declare war on you. So then they did, and then France is like, well, if you declare war on them, we're declaring war on you. And then they did, and then everyone just declared war on each other. And then literally some assassin someplace in some random place. Now there's Englishmen dying and fighting Germans in France because some Serb, like, it's happened before. I made a Facebook comment that was like, if people that can't remember history are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The problem with this is that Iran is allies with China and Russia and North Korea to a lesser extent, and those are all countries that would be very happy if the U.S. kind of went away. So,
yeah, especially with all these trade talks.
Yeah. So it's definitely interesting. Iran kind of retaliated. They missiled a bunch of U.S. bases.
And then that plane
in the area. Ugh. Yeah, there's a plane died. 65 Canadians died.
6 Winnipeggers.
Including 6 Winnipeggers. And they're citing mechanical failure, but who knows at this point.
Yeah, it exploded in the air.
Maybe data will come out by the time we release this that it was sabotage or whatever. It was an act of war. But as far as we are now, operating under the assumption that it was an accident indeed.
Well, I mean, that's what
kind of coincidence.
That's what you say when the world is freaking out about war, though.
Yeah. But yeah, so people just like killing each other. I don't really like killing people.
Yeah, and it's so far from us, but and I'm like trying to internalize this, but it actually might affect my business pretty soon because I've got clients in Israel, I've got clients in Europe, I've got clients in Dubai.
Well, Israel's right there, right? Between
it's literally right there.
Iraq and Jordan and Iran and then Israel, right? Like yeah. So
Singapore and it's the effect is like if this plane is actually a part of it, like that's literally hit right at home.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there's people, like, I have mutual friends with one of the people that died. They're, like, a scientist at the University of Manitoba.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of a thing, right? Like, so.
Canada doesn't have a draft, right?
We do not have the draft, no. We do not.
So, to our majority American audience, if you walk across the border, they cannot deny you.
It's not really.
If you're like, I'm a refugee, and you like walk across the border, they might detain you, but they'll let you in. Come stay at my grandma's house. We got a big barn.
We don't want you. No offense.
Build a wall.
Build a wall. Build that wall between Canada and America.
Yeah, exactly. No, build that wall, and then the Mexicans will build the wall, and we'll put a roof on top and call it a day.
Trap you guys in. Anyways, yeah, I mean, like, there's a lot of. Well, we were talking about the like when America. Okay, because Justin Trudeau, our prime minister, arrested that executive from Huawei, the Chinese phone company.
Yeah.
When he should have really just stayed out of it.
Absolutely.
But then to retaliate, they put like sanctions on
everything,
on our stuff. So the canola that we were selling to China isn't going anymore. So then, because I remember we got free berries from one of my berry farmers, like that we use for wine, and he was saying, yeah, man, like I can't store these anywhere because all the cold storage facilities in Manitoba are filled right now with beef. And I'm like, what? Why? And they're like, because China's not buying any of our beef anymore. Yeah. But so it's like that, you don't think about that, like the consequences, like the chain there, that like some,
it's going to be cyber war.
some Chinese phone company did something, so we arrested the girl, which affected trade, which then we couldn't sell, beef farmers couldn't sell beef to China, therefore they had to put it in storage, so the storage was full, so that the fruit growers couldn't use the storage, so I have less yield for my wines. Right? Like, it's just like, who would have thought?
So on that train of thought, Trump's $1 trillion tax bill, the trickle down. Here's a debate topic.
Sure.
We're probably on the same side of it. The trickle down.
Yeah.
Cut taxes for the 1% or no? Is that good for the economy?
I'm under the taxation is theft. Any.
If anyone follows you.
I think that taxes, like, the only people that win when taxes go up are the rich. Like, taxes disproportionately hurt the poor. Like, poor people pay more in taxes relatively.
Yeah.
Than rich people do, right?
Well, this is like not the rich. This would be like upper middle class rich.
Yeah.
Like not rich, but 7-figure households.
1%'s like $100,000 a year, I think. Maybe like 500 in America. Depends on your state. I know that in the world it's like 20 grand. If you make more than 20 grand a year, you're the 1% of the entire world's income.
Yeah. Yeah. So just as a general concept, taxing the rich versus killing tax breaks.
There's arguments either way. I think that number one, if you just raise taxes for people, they're just going to move their money. Like, Apple's just going to be like, oh, okay, we're not selling iPhones here anymore. Go away.
Right.
Like,
so taxing the super rich doesn't work.
I don't think so. I don't think it's effective. Maybe in a perfect world where you could tax them and they pay it all legitimately and whatever.
Happen.
But it doesn't happen.
Well, what's Molson doing right now?
Well, that's not for taxes, really.
It's kind of same idea.
Not really. We have really high taxes for alcohol specifically in my province specifically, and Molson is pulling all their marketing people out of Manitoba as we speak. But that was mainly they were citing we've had some violent robberies in government liquor stores recently, and the security isn't allowed to touch people that are committing these robberies. And we had like a innocent girl working the counter like knocked unconscious and put in a coma during a robbery. So they were just like, it's not worth having reps here anymore. Like, the danger isn't worth it. So they pulled other people out. But yeah, but I don't know. I think that because that's the thing with like minimum wage as well. You raise minimum wage, prices go up, so everything's the same, but everyone's paying more taxes now. Right. So the government wins at the end of the day.
Either way.
Yeah. So I'm not a tax fan. I don't like it from a. And whenever I say something like that, then people always go, "Oh, you don't like healthcare. You don't like fucking, homeless shelters. You don't like." I was gonna say, or I always respond like, "Great, if my money went towards that, phenomenal." But we just spent $1 trillion drone striking a fucking Iranian general in Iraq. Like, you know what I mean? Like, those fucking drones are like hundreds of thousands of dollars a fucking hour to run, and they're literally trillions of dollars. Like, our previous prime minister spent like 15 trillion over 10 years on fucking that fighter jet program that never ended up happening. Like, right? Like, we spend so much fucking money on war and invading fucking countries where apparently I saw a poll, only 24% of people polled could point out Iran on a map. And we're murdering people there. Yeah.
I love that song. I think it's by Black. And he says, he's like, he's like, in this day of, something along the lines of like, in this day of technology, I wish that I could just point out on my phone what I want to pay my taxes to.
Yeah.
He's like, because, I'm paying money for troops in Iraq, but there's a kid with a runny nose getting shot in my neighborhood. Like, my taxes are not doing that.
Yeah, that's like, in an ideal world, I would happily pay more taxes if my taxes were going to efficient use of anything. But like, for instance, like, we have universal healthcare here, but it's not fucking good by any stretch of the imagination. Our healthcare system is not good.
7 to 9 hour waits, constantly missing stuff. Like,
Well,
so many stories of people dying just from negligent care.
Yeah, and our mental health care is almost non-existent.
Yeah.
My brother, shortly before dying, was turned away from one of our only mental health facilities here because he, quote, wasn't bad enough.
Yeah.
And then he was dead of an overdose 2 months later. Like, we don't have a good system, and like, contrary to what I think a lot of like the NDP in Manitoba, or like the Democrat version, like the left-leaning people, they think that just more funding is the goal, and like throwing more money into a broken system isn't going to solve anything. Like, there needs to be a lot of reform, because I also don't think cutting things is going to help any. Like, neither. I'm really disjointed with politics right now because I don't think either choice is good.
It's all evil. We just need a big war to. Oh shit.
Shit. Yeah, I just don't think, like, there's throwing more money. Like the fucking Tim Moen, the head of the American or Canadian Libertarian Party, shared a stat that was like the healthcare costs have gone up like several thousand% over the last like 20 years, but the cost of doctors has stayed relatively the same. It's the cost of administrators that is skyrocketing.
Right.
We're paying way more for administration than we are on actual doctors.
Yeah.
Like, it's like fucking.
So I used to date the daughter of a guy in the Manitoba health system, and like hearing him tell stories about what his job is like. So basically, he's what you call like the CTO, like Chief Technology Officer, and he's like, I have to manage 29 technology and software systems, 29 completely different systems. Like, if you work in a whatever company, you probably use 1 or 2 or 3 systems.
Yeah.
They have 29 different ones that's just in the regional hospitals to keep things running along. And he's like, the infrastructure, like, you know, some of the systems are as old as, you know, the 90s, and they're just, you know, progressively being implemented. So, like, I have a bit of this experience, a little bit of a taste of this experience in the property management world, where you always have more work, more requests, and more incoming every single day. And just like staying alive every day is a battle. And then you're also trying to innovate, because everything you're doing is like, you have to do things 1, 2, 3, 4 times because it's set up so poorly, but you don't have time to fix the setup because you're so busy just doing it.
Well,
and it's like I think government gets stuck in that cycle because they're fucking slow.
Well, because I feel the same. Like, for instance, there's a brewery I won't name in Manitoba here, that their brew house or whatever, like the thing that I'm not super familiar with brewing equipment, but the thing that they have to like boils the water or whatever, mash tun, whatever that is. I think brew house, mash tun, whatever that system is.
Isaacs.
Yeah, is undersized for the operation, like severely undersized, to the point where I heard rumors that they lost staff because they're like, I'm not fucking brewing this. Like, you have to brew 3 or 4 times a day to get the same, when in a bigger brewery you would just do it once. Right. But for them to replace it, they'd have to shut the entire thing down. Like, everything would have to be empty. They would have to have construction come in there and take this one out and put another one in.
Yeah, you like 36 hours of downtime, super expensive.
More than that, I think. Right?
Yeah.
And the amount of income lost because they need to have, you know.
We need Ty from Extreme Home Makeovers to come in and do it in a day.
Yeah. So, but the amount of time lost from having to have those tanks empty, they'd lose more money.
Yeah.
Or lose enough money to put them out of business.
Lost opportunity cost. But also, the lost opportunity cost of not having it is going to stack and stack and stack until they're just forced to make the decision.
That doesn't help, though, if you close down, you go out of business.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, but I think it's the same kind of thing where you can't.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. Well, I think with as far as government goes and healthcare specifically, I think it's so broken, but they're, like you said, they're just kind of adding broken on top.
Yeah, you're just band-aiding everything.
Yeah. So it's
Wait, if you look at companies like Uber, they're no better off. You know, they've got proliferation of like sexist leaders. They've got sexual harassment. They've got discrimination. They've got all these other things going on, because when a company scales that fast, you absolutely lose control of the culture.
Yeah.
It's inevitable.
Well, we even see that with
And government is like literally where if you want to find apathetic people and employees, like no offense if you're a government employee that gives a shit. I mean, bravo to you. I'm happy when I get you on the phone, but it ain't 8 and 10.
Full offense. I don't like you. Just kidding.
Yeah, he's got a personal vendetta. I have less.
I have personally been almost put out of business and will probably, before my lifetime's over, be put out of business by incompetence,
gross
negligence, and not only that, but vindictive people in government that are just on their fucking, I can do whatever I want, and have acted vindictively, at worst illegal, and at best an abuse of power.
Yeah.
And I can't talk about it at all here because of litigation purposes, but I've told you about some of the stuff that's like, it's insane. Some of the stuff I've seen. We're in a very regulated industry like alcohol in Manitoba, and
you'd have an easier time convincing a border guard to get cocaine across the border.
Easy. Just kidding. I've tried. Not that easy. I've never been convicted of a crime.
Ask a Mennonite.
But big thing that pissed me off was like our left wing party last federal. We just had a federal election a little bit ago. They were because a lot of people have been talking about tax reform. It's really complicated, our tax law right now, where like it should be one return that's just easier to like put in your income and like whatever, right? Like we need tax reform, and our most left-wing party said that he doesn't want tax reform because that would cost jobs at the Canadian Revenue Agency.
Mm-hmm.
That was an actual Jagmeet Singh line where he said, I can't simplify the Tax Act because we would have to lay off people.
A bunch of redundancies.
But that's literally admitting to this is useless. We just keep them to employ people. That is a blatant waste of money.
Yeah. So we're charging you more tax to pay people to charge you more tax.
Like,
literally.
Exactly, yeah. So
beautiful.
So whenever someone, I want roads, I want doctors, I want whatever, security, I want whatever. But historically, the government is a poor provider of all of those things.
True.
They do a poor job.
You hire, like, case in point, True North Square.
Yes.
How fast did that go up?
Yeah, we just built a large, we did not, but our city built a very large.
Our city did not.
No, okay. Like
a private entity in our city.
The people that own the Winnipeg Jets, Mark Chipman, who we both had the pleasure of meeting before, very, very great, very passionate. He's made $500 million just because he loves Winnipeg. Literally, and he's good friends with David Thompson, the third Baron of Fleet, who is the richest person in Canada by far, by like magnitude of 5. So the two of them, one of the companies that they own, True North, built this True North Square, which is office building, condo complex. It's like a full city block.
Yep.
And spread over 3 buildings.
And there's a hotel and commercial district and several restaurants.
Restaurant. They have a brewery in there. Lake of the Woods Brewery. Moved a brew pub in there.
Across the street, I mean.
No. Oh yeah. But like
there's another steakhouse going up.
Yeah. So super cool project.
Beautiful.
They built it in like 2 years.
Yeah. We had a party there. Served wine at Mentos.
I was there. Yeah. I was. That was a day.
Yeah, that was good.
That was fun. Yeah. Because your law firm is the top floor of that building. Shout out TDS. My law firm's in the tallest building in Winnipeg, so 360 Main.
Are they still there?
Yeah, they're still there.
For now.
Yeah, no kidding. But yeah, they built that building in record time, but meanwhile, our government can't fix our roads, number one. We have overpasses that are 2 years behind schedule.
Yeah, the one took like 4 years to complete.
Yeah.
It was break down one bridge, build 2 others, and widen it from a 4-lane to a 6-lane.
Yeah.
It was like it was 3-4 years.
Yeah.
And that's like on a major artery.
And then you see China building like skyscrapers like overnight. See
those
time lapses where they
had a massive sinkhole like that. I think it was 4 lanes of highway just disappeared in a sinkhole.
Yeah, and they had it fixed like
it was 48 hours.
Yeah, it's yeah. So long story short, point is, if my money actually went to positive things, I would happily pay more taxes. But I don't think raising taxes on anybody, especially the rich, is effective. I don't think it works.
No.
So
I don't think it does either. And so a tax cut, which apparently can add $1 trillion to the budget, that's pure speculation though.
Which also, I hate that, like, it's going to cost us $1 trillion to reduce taxes by $1 trillion. Like, that's not
How it
paying
works.
money. That's
Well, we just fucking described what cutting off beef did. Never mind making $1 trillion change. What's the trickle down insanity going to be?
Yeah, because I know a lot of, and like, I don't necessarily believe in trickle down economics like the way like Reagan described it.
Right.
But and I think like a lot of left people would laugh at. Not saying I'm a right wing person, but I think that there's a good quote that was like, CEO pulls up in a Ferrari, guy kind of rolls his eyes and said, "How many people could you have fed for the price of that Ferrari?"
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, the people in the factory assembling this car, their families are being fed, and the people that are in the whatever, I don't know what's rubber. What is rubber? Is rubber a plant? I don't think they get rubber.
Rubber's oil.
Whatever. They're like the people in the oil rig getting the rubber for the tires.
Rubber is a plant.
They can fill their family. Oil's a plant technically, and like the the people stitching the the leather, the farmers to get the leather.
The salesman that sold you.
The salesman that sold you. Yeah, like there's 400 people involved in building this car.
The insurance company that charges you 3 arms and a leg.
Yeah, but he was saying, people, rather than just giving them money, people really appreciate
being paid for work,
for their like recognition of their skills.
Yeah.
Being able to assemble something like that is for a lot of people better than just getting a handout or whatever, right?
Exactly. Handouts doesn't help
because you're giving them dignity
Yeah.
for their labor, right? Which I think is important.
Yeah, so I firmly believe in that idea as well, and also being in the industry of taking rich people's money and deploying it.
That's what you do,
right? Rich people don't sit on their cash.
Yeah,
like,
I think that's a misnomer.
Right, they don't just sit on money.
I follow a lot of left-wing publications and Facebook pages and stuff that are always like, Jeff Bezos has $100 billion cash. He just sits on it and doesn't give it to whatever because they think net worth is how much money you have in the bank.
That's hilarious.
Because
Find me a bank that can hold that much cash.
But
actually,
a lot of these people that have that opinion, their net worth is the cash they have.
Right.
Right. But I remember when Elon Musk was a billionaire, or I think around right when he founded Tesla and SpaceX, around that era.
Yeah.
So he already made and sold PayPal. So he was already doing okay. He said that he just went through I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I think he sold that company for tens of millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
He started this company, sold it for tens of millions of dollars, hundreds, maybe $100 million.
I think
maybe more.
I think around 100 million.
And started these other companies. He said he had to borrow money for rent.
Yeah.
Even though he had just gone through this giant, because he had spent it all again, and invested it all. Right. He was fucking sleeping on the floor of the Tesla factory.
Still does.
Read an article today. They are now officially, as of January 2020, the highest valued car manufacturer in the world.
Oh wow!
They're 6 years old, right? Tesla.
They were supposedly just about to be bankrupt and insolvent.
I think they were
6 months ago.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
Props.
Oh, huge props! I'm a big Elon Musk fan. I know there's a lot of mixed opinions on him, but I'm a big fan.
Agreed. I'm a huge Tesla fan.
Yeah, so am I. We both want to get Teslas. So. But because I think fucking he's doing more for the environment than any of these left politicians that I'd be giving my fucking money to. Carbon tax, fuck you. Buy a Tesla.
Oh my god, I love carbon tax. It's what is it? Distinctly supposed to be. I think it's like 20% of what it should be in order to be the minimum effective amount.
To hit, yeah, it's not effective. What our Canadian we just introduced, well, not just like a year ago, introduced a carbon tax. So we pay everything that uses carbon. We had to pay for. So gas went up significantly, and et cetera, et cetera. And yeah, the amount that we're charging is nowhere near what it needs to be effective.
Yeah, it's
so it's literally virtue signaling. It's just generating money.
So was it the UN that released the numbers?
The Paris Accord or whatever that we signed.
Yeah, and they're like, this is how much, this is a percentage. If you can't hit this, don't bother.
Yeah.
And like, well, we'll hit 20%, and that's probably good enough.
Yeah, it's a joke. It's just to make money. And
yeah, it is a fucking joke.
Yeah.
Trudeau.
Yeah, well, because like stuff like I suggested a cap and trade, which is basically the government sets it up and then gets out of the way. Essentially, it's a free market for. So if you do something carbon positive, like build a solar panel or anything like that, you basically get credits, carbon credits.
Oh, fantastic!
And you can sell those on the open market. So if I want to build a coal plant, I have to use 8 carbon credits. I only have 2. I have to buy 6 carbon credits from somebody else who generated too many of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's a free market solution, and you can say, "Oh, well, that won't actually work. The free market's fucking shitty. Government's the best." It worked in Toronto in the 80s, 90s, or whatever, Bob FM, for acid rain when that was a problem in Toronto.
Right.
The mayor or whoever, the municipal government, set up a cap and trade system, and we don't have fucking acid rain anymore. It worked in recent memory in Canada.
Yeah, because people buying, trading, bartering, getting one over on their buddy, that's inherently human and always going to work.
I think the free market just works.
Yeah.
People don't want to live in shit. Like, we have a selfish reason to want to save the environment. Yeah. People don't want to fucking live in sewage.
Oh, man, that'd be really cool for carbon tax. And I'm just thinking, like, coming from the entrepreneurial community, when I say that, I mean, like, a lot of startup companies where they're literally sit in a room and be like, hey, what can we do that's innovative? Let's do something carbon positive. Let's do something solar. Let's do something Bitcoin, or let's do something like fintech, anything like that. Literally sit in a room and think, what's interesting, innovative, and weird that we can attack, and what is out there for programs, grants. And it's like people with a lot of energy, creativity, skills will gravitate towards the things that have programs like that available.
Well, I know Elon Musk has said he wants to get the Teslas down to as cheap as anything else.
Yeah.
Like, you'll be able to buy a $12,000 Tesla. That's his goal.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't buy an electric vehicle if it was the same price?
Well, some of theirs are. Like, the Tesla truck is already in the same range as
other trucks. Yeah. But why wouldn't you go for no gas?
Exactly.
The average consumer, right?
Well, the Hyperloop, you know how that was made? It was a open source design competition for the pod that's inside the Hyperloop.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was at a keynote by the guy that was the CEO of the Virgin Hyperloop.
Yeah.
Which was a really cool experience. So he's like buddy with Elon Musk and Richard Branson, obviously.
Yeah.
And he's a Winnipegger. Shout out.
Really?
But, yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Yes, CEO of Virgin Hyperloop.
I didn't know that.
He was.
Yeah.
I think he retired.
Cool.
But anyways, so he's telling me stories, and yeah, it was open source from universities, and that's how they designed the pod that's on the rails in the Hyperloop.
Yeah.
It was a design submitted by the university, so it's free.
Yeah.
Well, they gave prize money, I think, but yeah, it was fantastic. Run through so many iterations, get so many creative people, like open market.
We were watching that was me and my roommates were watching a documentary. There's a 8-part series on Bill Gates on Netflix. Just came out a little while ago. Whatever. Yeah, whatever. We were watching it, and he did that water. He has a toilet for Africa that they invented. No water, no power, but it works. And they came up with their final iteration. It was college kids were pitching their ideas to get done.
There's incredible innovations in that.
And the government, everyone's government, all across the world is just doing the same thing and never innovating.
Right.
it's the free market that innovates and creates something and creates breakthroughs.
And sometimes when you like put a problem in front of people, or just, hey, innovate something, you have 72 hours. We have a competition in Winnipeg that runs twice a year. There's a university one, there's an open one. It's called the Ramp Up Weekend.
Yeah.
And I have some friends, actually, I know I worked for a Ramp Up company.
Yeah, I have a Ramp Up company in my building.
Yeah. So, and there's a few of them that have ramped up to multi-seven-figure companies.
Yeah, I was not a mentor, but a consultant for one of the weeks.
Yeah, I don't know what you would call it, but yeah, that was fun. That's actually fun. That's not when we met. That's when me and John met.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been last year's.
Yeah, last year's. Anyways,
yeah.
So Ramp Up is a fantastic environment because you have to invent and design a business model in 72 hours and then pitch it in front of a panel of judges for prize money.
And then the idea is you use the prize money to start the business.
Well, the prize money is basically, it's some cash, but it's like for the business.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like an injection loan, plus you get another...
And connections.
Yeah, and you get into like another $60,000 in funding right off the hop.
Yeah, and connections with all these people.
Yeah.
And
So we have some friends that
started real businesses that exist today and make money.
I'm thinking TAVE, they just got into Y Combinator.
Yeah.
And Y Combinator, if you know, is like the Navy SEALs of startup organizations.
Yeah.
And they take about 10 out of every 10,000 applicants that they take or that they get. And one of our friends made it into that.
Yeah.
I think he's actually at a session this evening.
I think you're right.
So absolutely insane. And just forcing innovation in the open market. And where I was going to lead with that is, you guys know those beautiful Coke machines that's like a touch screen and like everything's floating around. You pick Coke and then you flavor injection, whatever. It's really, really sleek. That was invented in trade. So it was invented in trade by a guy that's like a genius inventor. He created I think he's the creator of the Segway.
Okay.
He holds the patent for the Segway.
Sure.
He holds a patent for like this wheelchair that can climb stairs and like a bunch of other stuff. He has like a children's innovation museum. Famous guy. No idea what his name is, but
Jamie, bring it up.
Yeah. So he had invented a water filtration system that could run on solar and could supply could supply a village of like roughly 150 people, maybe 200 people, and it required no filters, virtually no maintenance, and like didn't need any interchangeable parts. It could be set into an extremely remote area. You set it up and you could just set it and forget it for 10 years and you'd have fresh drinking water. So this thing would pull water from a river or whatever, filter it, and it'd be fresh, clean drinking water. You could literally put sewage straight from an outhouse into this thing and it would come out as tasty drinking water. Absolutely phenomenal, with no filters, never had to change anything on it. And so they invented this thing, like, how in the hell do we get this into remote Africa? Because the logistics for anyone in business, getting your shit from your city to the next city is going to cost you money. It might be difficult. Try getting it from America or even Europe into a remote section of Africa.
It doesn't have roads.
Right. And if they do have roads, there's probably barricades where there's some random guy who's 14 years old sitting at the barricade with an AK. He's like, hey, I don't recognize you. Pay me $100.
Yeah.
And then he's also going to shoot you anyways because it's shiny. Like, that's the environment they're going into. So, like, who has distribution across the world and in Africa, in the most remote areas? It's Coca-Cola. You go to a remote store, they have nothing but like goat meat and there's a bottle of Coke.
Yeah.
So like, how do they do that? Because everyone that touches the product, 10 crack commandments, gets paid.
Yeah.
So they went to Coca-Cola and they said, hey, can you get our filters into these areas of Africa?
Yeah.
And Coke is like for free. What can we do for you?
Yeah.
And Coke's like, absolutely, invent a new drink machine, because look at this boring ass thing.
And he invented
it's got like
machine.
9 fountains, like shh, you know the thing?
Yeah.
And he invented that touchscreen thing.
Fascinating.
So that was the trade. He made that.
Yeah.
Gave them the patent.
Yeah.
So they now distribute his water filtration system, all not for profit.
Wow. Insane, right? Yeah, like, no, free market can do it better. Period.
Even
That's it.
even if money's not involved.
Yeah, free market can do it better. I don't care.
And what's that meme? He's like the fucking lemonade stand. He's like, tell me I'm wrong.
Oh, the Steven Crowder. The Steven Crowder meme where he's standing at the fucking... He's on the Prove Me Wrong, the Change My Mind.
Yes, Change My Mind. That's the one.
Steven Crowder's Change My Mind series, the meme version.
Yes, Change My Mind.
Yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, change my mind that free market doesn't do it better, period. End of sentence.
Titled the podcast.
End of sentence, yeah.
Free market. Also, that brings to mind war profiteering.
Okay, don't say it like that. Don't say war profiteering. Military contracting.
Okay, so same difference.
We were having brunch the other day, Tyler and I, and
when we say brunch, we mean lunch because we missed brunch.
We were hungover. However, we were having brunch, and we were talking about Iran and all that. And I said, man, we got to get into military contracting. We got to get into, like, I got to find out how to sell the military wine. And then you told me a story, if you want to tell it again for the podcast.
Yeah, and $20,000 cups of coffee.
Yeah, well, that's the business to be in, is the U.S. Air Force spends like $20,000 on cups of coffee or whatever, and like they waste so much money because they pay the price. It doesn't matter what it is. They don't think about it, right? So the government...
They pay the vendor and then maybe look at the price.
The government selling stuff to the government is the business to be in, because they don't care.
It's kind of your business.
Not the same way though.
Yeah.
Military especially, because for security,
they don't have to report it.
Well, and it justifies any cost.
Yeah.
Because it's either this or thermonuclear war, we're going to pay it.
Yeah, right? Coffee, sure.
Sure, whatever. So, you were telling me a story about...
Story. So, this is a... Thank you. Kill it.
Got another drink? Yeah.
Quick story. I got from Wondery. A podcast called Business Wars. And it's Budweiser versus... Budweiser, like Ambev, which became Ambev. Budweiser versus Miller, maybe?
I have no idea.
Anyways, you can clearly tell who won because I can't remember the other fucking guy. I know Pabst was in there in the beginning. And the fact that they won a blue ribbon one time and it's still on their fucking can.
Fun fact, Pabst Blue Ribbon, if you buy a 15-pack in Winnipeg this week...
You get a toaster.
You enter to win a toaster.
Right, enter to win. If you just got a toaster, we would have got it.
Oh, absolutely.
We'd be drinking Pabst.
We'd be drinking Pabst right now if we got that toaster.
100%.
But you get entered into a draw to win a toaster for some reason. We were laughing at it for like 5 minutes. But anyway, continue.
Hashtag marketing. Okay, so World War I or II, can't remember. Probably one. Pre-Prohibition? When is Prohibition?
After World War II. In the Depression.
Yeah, okay, so pre-Prohibition, pre-hard times for liquor companies. So they were in their heyday, growing like crazy, and war hits. Just like Willows was mentioning, couldn't produce some wine because grapes, because beef, because China, because Huawei. Same effect happens in war times, where beer is not limited, but wheat is portioned, rationed, and comes under control of the government. Because they're like, okay, we have so and so much wheat, it needs to be allocated towards feeding the people, feeding the troops. And you know who's not getting wheat? Breweries. So they did some insane stuff with Mexico making like weird deals to get it across the border. Like, it was incredible what these guys pulled off. They're buying from other countries and importing across the border and like calling it something else. But they eventually got caught. They got shut down, and they're just trying to stay alive here. It's not that they're just like, oh, we're gonna make beer and starve the people. No, they're just trying to keep the company alive and employ all these people who are otherwise in the Great Depression, getting drafted, whatever. So in interest of self, aka profit, revenue, they decide, hey, we're going to become the official beer of the American military, because if we sell to the military and become a part of the war effort, we will get automatically authorized to buy as much weed as we can, or as much as we want. So they literally, and Coca-Cola did this as well, by the way. So they literally went to, I don't know, they went through their connections, because when you're that rich, that big, that famous, you know a couple senators, you might have had dinner with the president. So they start calling on their connections, and several years later, or months later, they convinced the government that having beer on the front lines was a good idea. So, ergo, they got their bans lifted, and they began to get as much weed as they needed, shipping beer across the ocean. And it's like, free market will absolutely find a way. And in self-interest, they survived as a company. Everybody knows who they are now. And otherwise they would have been killed. There's so many massive breweries and companies that were as big as Budweiser that did not survive the war for that exact reason. And also, now that I'm talking about it, I may be crossing over the Coca-Cola story with the Budweiser story, because I listened to them at pretty much the same time. But it's the same idea. So let's say it was Coca-Cola and sugar.
Yeah, same idea.
Same idea. They became the official drink of the American military.
Here's a good fun fact. A ton of big regional soda companies in the United States became soda companies because they were breweries, and then Prohibition hit.
Yep, they tried that too.
And they switched over to making soda because it's the same equipment.
Yeah.
Essentially. So apparently there's a ton of regional, you probably have a soda that's like super popular in your state but nowhere else.
Yeah.
That's because it's like a established 100-year-old brewery or soda maker or whatever. A bunch of them were like breweries that were like, well, how do we stay alive in Prohibition? Let's make soda, and that ended up making more money. Like.
Yeah, I don't even remember how Budweiser stayed alive through that.
I'm sure like that.
Absolutely wild.
Yeah. Well, just being able to like finesse the U.S. government would be hilarious. You know what I mean? Like that power
with their own money.
Yeah, love it.
That's the only reason we're in business. I want to be able to, I heard from a friend, it's like literally drive down the road texting and be like, oh my God, put your phone down, there's a cop, because that's a big offense in Manitoba. If you get caught texting and driving, second offense, like you lose your license.
And you lose your license first time. No, you lose your car. They impound your fucking car first time, first offense.
Yeah.
And you lose your license for 3 days.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Yeah.
But
as it should be.
With that in mind, this guy, will not name person or city, was driving down the street, texting, and my friend's sitting in the car. He's like, oh my God, there's a cop, put your phone down. He's like, no, it's all right. Waves at the cop waves back, keeps driving.
Yeah.
That's all I want in life. I want to be well known enough where, somebody, or that episode of Billions, where his employee is like drunk driving, or not drunk driving. Was he drunk driving?
What I'm thinking is that episode
where he did something stupid. One of his employees did something stupid, and then the cops called him first instead of bringing him in.
Yeah.
And he bailed them out because he paid them off. They're like, oh, this guy's super rich. Just call him. Don't bring him in. Nudge, nudge, buddy.
Yeah.
Like the guy at Domino's.
Oh, that pizza. Have I told that story on air?
Yeah, you did.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, he's like, just give him the cold pizza, pocket the cash. That was
it was warm. Yeah, the Domino's guy so I'll tell the story again whenever it's quick. My ex-girlfriend and I were blasted out of our fucking minds. We were walking home from a party. We were coming home. We stopped in a Domino's to eat pizza. We're staring at the board. We can't even focus our eyes. We're like, So this guy from the back, one of the cooks, heard that we were obviously fucking wasted, and this white girl working the front counter, obviously hasn't been there long, new employee. She didn't know how to deal with us, so he comes up, taps her on the shoulder, makes her move over. Was like, hey guys, I have this pizza and someone ordered and didn't pick up. Pepperoni pizza. I could sell it to you. And I'm like, fine. I'm like, what kind of deal you give us? I'm like, I'll give you $5. He's like, deal done. I'm like, perfect. So I get this large pepperoni pizza for $5, which is we literally were talking about it the next day. That's how happy we are. Like, it just made my fucking day.
Yeah.
And then, anyway, we got this pizza, still warm and everything. It was just like in the warmer for like half an hour or whatever. So I give him the $5, and the girl goes to put it into the register, and he like slaps her hand, like not bad, but just like slapped her hand. He's like, dude, put it in your pocket. So she just puts the money in her pocket. He goes back to the kitchen. I leave with the pizza. All the parties are happy. Almost gets fucked over, but it was a waste anyway.
Yeah.
Like, that pizza was going to be wasted anyway. And it was just so funny that he didn't get anything out of that.
Yeah.
He just gave the money to this girl. Like, it was just, yeah.
I'm just thinking the same thing, like with his Billions episode where he does that. That's like the police equivalent. I mean, you can't call him evil for that because he probably got harsher discipline from his boss that's to bail his ass out than he would have had in prison.
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
well, maybe.
yeah. It's, I don't know. It's, yeah. People like that they have like he saw an opportunity to make profit, right? And did it. And even though it wasn't for him, and no one got hurt because it wasn't stealing from the company. It wasn't like he made a pizza, right? It was already fucking.
It was lost.
It was already lost. It was trash. You know, like, for instance, like, here's a good one. We do a collab. Shout out Valhalla Soaps in Winnipeg here. We actually make soaps with our wines. Yeah. So she takes our wine, she puts it, I don't know the process, but she puts it in the soap, and she makes soap. I'm making like $100 a week right now on fucking soap, which is pretty dope.
So you probably don't use your prime product for that, though.
We use stuff I would have poured down the drain.
Yeah.
We use because like when you make wine, the yeast and stuff settles to the bottom, and you basically just filter above the yeast line, and then dump it out. Instead of dumping out, we throw it in a bucket, give the bucket her, she makes it into soap. I make fucking money on literally garbage.
Yeah.
Like,
same with your grappa?
The grappa, yeah. Grappa, we take our, that's a collab project we're doing. It's not out yet. We kind of announced it. It's a collaboration we're doing with the distillery here. Grappa is distilled grape skins. So you basically ferment grapes, the skins of the grapes. And then it's really bad, but then you distill it. And it's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's an acquired taste. We bought an expensive bottle.
Yeah, I had it.
It's not great, but
it's grappa.
It's grappa.
Somebody likes it.
Someone told me that's what it's supposed to taste like, so whatever. Yeah. But yeah, they started making it in France and Italy and stuff because they were wasting all these fucking skins. So whatever, right? Well, that's I think that's a skill of entrepreneurs, is be able to find waste and capitalize on it.
I'm convicted. I gotta go find some waste.
We're in a product industry. You are not, though.
All I got is people wasting time. I wish I could monopolize wasted time.
You gotta have your contractors on the phone doing sales or something, like in a Bluetooth, you know?
No, what we actually did for recapturing waste, super simply in our business, was we take the waste from site to site to site. Where we found it's actually quite a bit where people buy too much material, so you get a 4-pack, you need 3.
Yeah.
And
then bring it to the next.
We just started
house.
Accumulating that stuff. Yeah, and we bring it from house to house to house.
Okay.
We were doing it for 3 weeks, and we had literally a truckload of stuff. We could almost do an entire house off of leftovers that would typically be thrown out.
Well, we built my bar together. I have a bar here in Winnipeg.
Partially with the old bar.
Partially with the old bar. That we had an old office space. We took down the table and the counter and everything and built the bar out of that. But then we also, the granite countertop, the granite bar top,
was rejected from somebody's.
Was the end of a project that they weren't using. So.
Repurposed.
Recycle, baby. See, and that's another thing, is fucking with carbon tax and shit. Like, if we're talking about that stuff, is entrepreneurs are thrifty by nature. We will reuse and recycle shit by nature to save money.
There's literally businesses that just turn around waste.
Literally. So, yeah.
Attitude towards military. America versus literally the rest of the world.
You're just trying to get me controversial.
Absolutely. It's that time. We're drunk enough. That insurance we talked about.
I'm anti-military. I'm anti-foreign intervention. I think that the military should be used for home defense and aid work, and that's it. And I know people would argue, well,
protecting America's interests.
Protecting us is killing terrorists in other places. I don't believe that. I think we should have a fucking Coast Guard. I don't think we should be in other places.
If you took all of that military spending and just put it towards like stopping terrorists,
I just don't think that. I think that the reason why we have terrorism is because you're bombing children.
Right.
And
then you just created another generation of people that hate you.
Yeah, you're killing parents, and then their children in 18 years become terrorists.
Unwinnable. Nobody has ever won an insurgency.
Pull out for a generation, and then you can stop. Pull out.
We never pull out.
What's
the insinuated?
I know. Pull out of the of all foreign intervention for a generation.
Right.
And then see what happens. If it doesn't work, I will admit I'm wrong, and you can go back.
Yeah, the insurance will cover it.
But if terrorism stops, because you murder people, and then their kids are like hate you for the rest of their lives.
$1 million planes with $1 million bombs.
$1 billion planes with $1 billion, but like
from another country.
It's insane, and every president has done it. Every prime minister has done it. It's just an endless cycle of war. I'm just anti-war.
And therefore, anti not my fight.
Well, whatever.
Draft. No, I get it.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't go. I wouldn't. I'm a conscientious objector. I would almost say I'm a pacifist. I'd almost go that far.
Which is funny because I'd be like on the fence for signing up, but honestly for completely selfish motivations.
Can't pay me to you can't. There's no motivation that I ever kill somebody for a banker's war, right? Like there's no way. Like there's just.
I'm just a little twisted.
Yeah, you play some fucking Call of Duty,
no, literally.
Man, I don't care.
No, that's what drives people to war though. Is that that self-interest of proving your toughness, your manlyhood, your loyalty, your strength. And if you're a woman, a woman can do it too. I can hold a gun, pull the trigger, and kick your ass.
I think there's a lot more strength in turning the other cheek than killing somebody.
Why are you talking like a Mennonite and I'm talking like someone without a denomination? I
don't know. I think there's a lot more strength in not retaliating to stuff like that than there is in
Absolutely. Fighting is an emotional response.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't think there's any good. I don't think there's been a justified conflict since World War II. I think they're. Well, because then even look at your own country doesn't care about you. These soldiers. The UN doesn't care about these soldiers. You look at Romeo Dallaire was a Canadian general or whatever. The Hotel Rwanda. Look up that movie. He was stranded in Rwanda. They just left him to die.
Oh, I think I've seen that.
It was the Rwanda genocide in the 90s or 80s, whenever that happened. Rwandans were being genocided. We sent peacekeepers in. Romeo Dallaire and his squad or whatever was under fire, and basically the UN and Canada was whatever, and just fucking left him to die. And he survived and got home. But they were basically whatever, it's a lost cause, we can't get you out, whatever, bye. They don't give a shit about you.
Yeah, and you watch any spy movie or special ops movie or anything like that, they're if you fail or if you die, we don't know you, we didn't send you, you're not an American, you don't have a name.
Yeah.
That forgotten country.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It's truly noble because you're actually getting fucked.
Yeah. I and obviously, I know a lot of people also would have the argument that you don't know what goes on in espionage and CIA and CSIS and stuff like that. So
if we did, it wouldn't be espionage.
Exactly, but so you don't know how valuable this stuff is.
No, absolutely not.
And I'll give that to you, but I don't think I could quote Muhammad Ali 100 times here, right, because he was a conscientious objector to the Korean War. He said, "I'm not going." He said. The best quote is I won't say it directly because it's but he said it was Vietnam. He said, no Vietnamese ever called me the N-word.
Right.
Like, he's like, my enemies are here, not Vietnamese rice farmers, right? Like,
and then I've watched documentaries and vloggers, TV shows, Top Gear. They go to Vietnam and they're loved there. It's a beautiful country, beautiful. I know a ton of people that love to vacation there.
I just saw a quote from Anthony Bourdain, rest his soul. He said that Iran, his crew had never been treated better, because he had some Parts Unknown was his show, where he went to all these different countries and went to eat the food there.
Yeah.
Anthony Bourdain, famous chef, unfortunately committed suicide last year. He said Iran was the best his people ever got treated. He said, we knew the Persians were nice, but the nicest? Didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And we're currently going to war with these people.
Right, and even Afghanistan. Like, Afghanistan is a beautiful country before the Taliban fucked it all up.
It's beautiful. Here's a good one, is that...
Well, before we fucked up, the Taliban fucked up the
country. Fucking Osama bin Laden was a CIA operative that was hired by George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., whatever, one of them. But they're friends. The bin Ladens and the Bushes, the families are friends.
Of course.
He was a CIA operative that they armed, trained to fight the Russians when they were occupying Afghanistan in the 80s.
Classic.
Like, that all happened because of American...
Definitely senior, not you.
Like, whatever. And,
also, we're Canadians. We have good schools.
Here's a good one. My friend, won't say his name because I don't know if he wants people to know this, but he was born in Afghanistan, moved here, lived in Canada for like 10 years now. He said that until he came to Canada, he never heard Al-Qaeda. He told me, I don't think it's real. Because he lived in Kabul he said, the Taliban, don't fuck with them. They're controlling everything. He's like, I had never heard the word Al-Qaeda. I don't think there's a terrorist organization operating in Afghanistan.
Oh, that's wild.
He said until Canadian television said, oh yeah, Al-Qaeda is occupying this district. And he's like, who? I'd never heard of it before.
It's like that Snoop Dogg meme. Who?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
My territory? Who?
Yeah. But literally, so, and like, I know a bunch of, I have a few Ukrainian friends. And they always chime in on the, Russia.
Yeah.
Like, especially when Crimea was happening, when that whole thing. They're like, yeah, why wouldn't Crimea be part of Russia? Like, they were on Putin's side.
Yeah.
People from there. But, like, our media was demonizing him and saying he's doing all this bad stuff. But the people actually from there were like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, Putin's in the right. Like, it's just interesting to see people actually. And that's why, like,
get your news from Reddit.
I try to get my news. Well, no, I have like Al Jazeera on Snapchat, and like their journalists will be like on the ground, like taking snaps, and be like, "I am here in a fucking war zone,"
and it's really small compared to what you see on the camera.
It's so stuff, but obviously, yeah, obviously the media, obviously anything is you're never going to get the whole story, but I like to see the more
genuine,
the raw, like whatever, like people actually there, people actually, I don't trust a lot of anything you hear. Like I saw a good quote that was like, everyone saying that everything was fake news for the last 5 years is now believing everything the government tells them about the Iran situation. You know what I mean? Like, we're never getting the full story, I don't think.
No.
So.
Definitely not from paper.
And that's why I purposely follow on Facebook super right and super left publications, even though I don't agree with either of them, because I want to hear the perspective. I think we've talked about this before, but like if you're just in an echo chamber with just stuff you believe, like that just doubles you down.
Which
right?
Unfortunately social media contributes to.
Oh, 100%, because you only like pages you agree with.
Yeah.
Right? So I purposely go out of my way to follow stuff that I don't agree with, just so I can see.
The algorithms are like, we'll show you what you want. And then you see only one side, and they're like, you're showing them biased information. Well, you're fucking biased.
Yeah.
It's like, we didn't design this to make Willows left wing. We said, Willows likes X, let's give him X.
Yeah.
Now they're saying Willows likes X, let's give him a little bit of X and a little bit of Y.
Yeah, so I go out of my way to kind of have an informed opinion. I also, for a lot of things, kind of admit that it's not my expertise and I don't chime in as much on because I'm like, you know what? I don't fucking
Honestly,
know.
talking about this on a podcast is a big step because we don't like to take stances.
Yeah.
Not because we're being weak about it, but because we admit that we know so little.
Yeah. Yeah. I can have an opinion, but at the end of the day, I don't know.
Yeah, but literally everyone is in the same boat.
Yes, but then some people get on TV and talk about how stuff, even though they
Right.
don't know anything about anything.
So if you take our word for it, don't. Because the point of this podcast is to talk about the things we don't understand and the way that we process information. And it's not ever clear, which will be fascinating when we look back at the conspiracy theories and we listen to this podcast fucking 25 years from now.
Yeah.
On what we were thinking and how we're thinking about it and how we process the information. That's really what this is all about. And under the influence of a cider, we are trying to process something that could be consequential for the rest of our lives or is literally just a news flash for like 30 days and all of a sudden one of the Jenners does something stupid and everyone forgets about it.
For sure. What's your favorite Kardashian?
Definitely the rich one.
They're all rich.
The rich one.
I think Kylie's my favorite.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh. The billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although there is something to be said about Kris Jenner that fucking orchestrated this entire family.
Agreed.
Like, it was her masterminding. You can
shit.
see it, yeah. You can see it behind the scenes, the fucking, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Uncle Corrado instead of Tony.
Yeah. Or, yeah. Whatever. But,
Nested references.
blah, blah.
Any boomers listening to this podcast?
I don't know. Are there? Leave a like if you're a boomer.
No likes.
Rip.
Podcast gets no likes.
Leave a like if you're not a boomer, honestly. Leave a like either way. Just leave a like. Yeah, okay, well, we're going to call it there, I think. You will hear this after you hear the last one we recorded that I haven't edited yet, so...
And more relevant and important news.
Yeah, you'll probably... Now, if we're going to talk about, like, recent current events, we really have to get these out quick.
We should release 2 episodes, like, back-to-back, like, one day and then the other.
Because we're going to talk about something that's not relevant anymore, because I released this 3 weeks after, like...
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for listening. Alcohol Beyond This Point on Instagram, at Alcohol Beyond This Point, all one thing, obviously. Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast on Facebook. Vote Willows is mine. Tyler Bergen, DBP. I was just saying BPD. Close on everything. Yeah, thanks. Leave a like if you're a boomer or not a boomer. And
also, shout out to the boomers that won't qualify for the draft because you're too fucking old. Sorry. The people you despise are defending your livelihood. End quote.